Hi guys, Sony has released a brand new lens, the 24-50 f2.8, and the first thing I want to say is that Sony did not send me one of these lenses pre-release for a review. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't, but I agree with their decision. I am a handful after all. But if they think that's going to stop me from making a video about it and putting some affiliate links, they are crazy, because I am going to do that. But I'm also going to talk about who this lens is for and other lenses that might be better alternatives for you depending on who you are. I really wanted to make a video because my wife, she went to bed saying something about camera stuff is super boring, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I figured I would talk to you people about it. I am pretty excited actually about the 24-50 f2.8. 2.8 is very popular for good reason. When you're on a full frame, that 2.8 can still get you that nice blurry background, and it's pretty good in low light situations. And this lens coming in at $1,100 is definitely going to be attractive. A lot of people are calling this the 24-70 G Master 2 if you don't want to pay G Master 2 prices and you don't mind losing those 20 millimeters on the long end, but you're getting that level of quality. And that 24-50, that falls in line with a general shooting lens. A lot of times people get a 24-70 as their main lens. It is one of the most popular lenses you can possibly get for any camera system, the 24-70, especially 24-70 f2.8. So this one, 24-50, you can call it a general purpose shooter, a travel lens, a city street photography lens, and it can do a great job in those avenues. But there are three other lenses that I think people should heavily consider before they pull the trigger on that 24-50. Maybe the 24-50 is the right lens for you, but let's talk about the other options available so that you can make a more informed decision. First thing I'm going to mention is the Tamron 20-40 f2.8. This is a very underrated lens, the 20-40 f2.8. See, a lot of the reviewers that were talking about the 24-50, they were saying, I wish it was just a little bit wider, because it's great for all-purpose shooting, but a lot of people are turning the cameras around on themselves these days and filming themselves, whether you call it vlogging or just, filming yourself. And 24 millimeters, especially on these Sony cameras where you're going to use the IBIS, where you're going to use the stabilization, it's going to crop in about 10%. And if you use this, the ZV-E1, and you use that dynamic active stabilization, that crops in a whole lot more. So 24 millimeters, that can start to get a little bit tight. So when you have that wider field of view on that Tamron, that 20 millimeters, that makes a really big difference on the wide end, and you still go all the way up to 40. You don't quite get to 50, but if you're somebody who is trying to get a lens that is more on the wider sense, but still a general purpose shooter, that Tamron is one to look at, and that one is actually $400 cheaper. That is $699 compared to the $1,100 for the 24-50. For instance, I have already booked my ticket to Las Vegas for NAB, and I am looking for a lens that will help me capture everything I am seeing, but also myself when I want to turn it around and talk. And I am thinking that I should probably take the Tamron 20-40. I wouldn't take that Sony 24-50 because it would just be too tight for when I spin it around and start yapping my nonsense to the lens. It's also smaller and lighter than the Sony lens, and Sony's pretty proud of how small and compact that lens is, and so they should be. That is very great for 24-50 to be that weight and that size, but it's 440 grams, the Sony, whereas you get 365 grams for the Tamron, so even smaller and lighter and wider. So, for a lot of people, that Tamron is going to fit the bill a lot better. Now, for the exact same price of $1,100, you can get a 24-70, but that 24-70 is from Sigma, a Sigma art lens, and that thing is fantastic. That competes with a G Master very easily. That is a great lens. You get 24-70, 2.8, all the way through for that same $1,100. Now, the caveat with that is it is not as small and compact as that Sony 24-50, so it might not be as great for covert city street photography and also just having a smaller travel lens. But if what you were really after was a G Master quality lens, 24-70, 2.8, the Sigma 24-70 Art is an excellent alternative. But that lens is 835 grams compared to the 440 grams, so you're saving 400 grams there, almost double the weight, really. So that definitely is not as compact of a lens. However, there is still another 2.8 zoom lens that is much closer in size. Once again, that is from Sigma. It's the Sigma 28-70. So still not as wide as the Sony 24. But if you're less concerned with the wide end and you want longer, but you want a nice, sharp 2.8 lens, that Sigma 28-70 is also a lot cheaper. That is $749 right now compared to the $1,100. And it's only 30 grams heavier than the Sony 24-50. And there's also a Tamron 28-75 f2.8, but that's a little bit bigger than the Sigma lens, so that's why I think the Sigma lens is a better alternative to that Sony 24-50. Now, just because there are some viable, good alternatives to that 24-50, that doesn't mean I wouldn't recommend it to a ton of people. This is going to be a very popular lens for good reason. It's got a nice range, but it's also a Sony lens, and when you have a Sony lens paired with a Sony body, you can get that focus breathing compensation in the newer bodies, and you're not going to get that with the third-party lenses, and also you're not going to get that artificial limit of 15 frames per second that you're going to get on the third-party lenses. So if you shoot the A9 series, or you have an A1, or the cameras start getting higher frame rates later, then you will be future-proofed with that 24-50 because it will be able to handle the higher burst rates. And also the stabilization works better with Sony lenses and Sony bodies when you have that electronic stabilization kicking in, whereas the third parties, they're just not going to be as stable as a Sony lens on a Sony body. So of course, I will leave links to all of the lenses that I mentioned down below. Feel free to click on those and make me stinking rich. I certainly will appreciate it. Let me know if the 24-50 floats your boat, and if not, why? What type of lens does? We'll have a nice little discussion about it. Thanks for watching this. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.